Hello, welcome to our presentation of LinkedIn.com Social Network Group Semester Project. Our group is composed of Felisa Edwards and Edson Rojas. We developed a register page, a search page, and a database where new registrants will be stored and utilized in the search function. Both pages have been designed with validations to ensure data integrity. The project was initiated with the flowchart of the registration page and middle tier, where the user input is received and then stored in the database. The flowchart demonstrates the entries that are required as well as their validations. Once the information has been correctly input, it is sent to the middle tier, which receives the data and attempts to connect to the database. If there's an error in connection, the system will display an exception error message and a subsequent attempt may be made. Once a connection has been established, the data is inserted into the table of the database and the user receives a success message. The program has been designed to prevent duplicate email entries through the use of validations. Now let's look at the search page flowchart. The search page consists of two fields. The more details entered, the more accurate the search results. Once the search button is clicked, the data is compared to that which is stored in the middle tier, the database, and if any information matches, results will be displayed. If no data matches, a message will display stating no equivalent information exists. Here on our class diagram, this describes the connections between each of the layers of the database architecture. The first layer is the external layer. This is the part of the database relevant to the user. In our project, this includes the registration page and the search page. The second level is the conceptual level, or middle tier. This describes what data is stored in the database and the relationship among the data. The registration bean and search bean is the middle layer. Our third layer is the internal level, the physical representation of the database. It describes how the data is stored in the database. The JDBC layer represents this third layer. Here we also have a user class. The user class is an object that will store the methods for each data entered by the user and will later be retrieved. Let's look at what the user sees upon accessing our LinkedIn registration form. As previously described, the 8 fields represent the information necessary to register a new user. As we move forward, the registration page code shows the validation requirements, required values, inline HTML, and validation patterns. We will attempt to register a new user. If the registration button is selected without entering any information, the display on the screen indicates the required fields. When the user inputs only the first letter of the first name, a message appears specifying the number of characters required in the first name. If a data entry error occurred in the birth date format, the program prompts the user to correct the error. A similar date validation is made for the email input. Before any record has been saved to the database, the table is empty. In the user class, the methods are created to get and set the values of each field to be summarized, making them accessible through the public method. The registration bean summarizes all fields from the registration page into a single object and allows access to properties using getter and setter methods. The JDBC layer connects to the database and creates a new user. The information is updated to the database. You can now see a user has been added to the table. and registration is a success. The code has been written to catch duplicate email address across persons registering on the site. Once the email information is unique, a new registration occurs. Now we will look at the search page functionality. Like the registration page, the search page code shows the validation requirements, required values, and inline HTML. We also implement a search bean that utilizes the JDBC layer. The JDBC layer includes an if statement and while character to locate the requested name and city. At this level, a connection to the database is attempted, and if established, the database will read to determine if any of the information is in the table. The letter M is entered in the name search field and one user was found. When the letter K is entered in the city search field, a different user is found. With data entered in both fields, the display will show all users that match the search criteria. And when no search criteria are entered, the result is a list of all users. Each time data is entered into the search page, the program reads the information from the database. If no matching data is found, the user gets a message indicating they have not been registered. Now we will have a live demonstration.
Hello, now I'm going to show you our live demo for our register page. As you can see, this is our register page. On the left side we have all the labels, first name, last name, date of birth with the format month, first, date, and a 4-digit for the year. We have email, employer, city, state, and country. On the right side we have all the text boxes and drop-down boxes for city, state, and country. And right here on the bottom we have our register button. So when you click the register button and all the fields are empty, you're going to receive a few error message for all the required fields: first name, last name, birthday, email, and employer. So let's type some information. Okay. Now we're gonna try our validation for first name. Let's click the register button. As you can see, we receive an error message saying name must be between 2 and 50 characters. We only type 1 character. Next, we're gonna try the validation for date of birth. Click register. And again, please enter the correct format for date of birth. Date of birth must be 2-digit number for month, 2-digit number for date, and a 4-digit number for the year. Finally, we're going to try our validation for email. Click register. Invalid email address format. Okay. So we're going to use the correct format with the name at uhcl.edu. Click register. Now we'll receive an error message from the database. It's saying that somebody else is using that email address erohas@uhcl.edu. So we're going back to our database table. Okay. As you can see, somebody else is using that email address right here. Edson Rojas, urojas at UHCL.edu. Okay. So we need to use a different email address. Click register, and voila, the registration is successful. So going back to our table and refresh our table, now we can see that Juan has been added into our table. Now let's go to our search page. In our registration page, we have a link named search. When you click that link, it takes you to the search page. We have two fields. You can search by name or you can search by city. When both fields are empty and click the search button, all the data from that table is going to be shown. Okay. Now let's search by name. Because we use wild characters in our table, we can only type the first letter of a character, and it's going to display everything that starts with the letter B. Click search. As you can see, we only have one user that starts with the letter B, Brandon. The same thing goes for city. You can type only H for Houston, remove the name, click search. Right there. Only one person lives in Houston, Edson Rojas. Or you can look for both name and city. You can do B and click search. Now you can see that we have Brandon in Kansas and you have Edson Rojas in Houston. Next, we're gonna try to type some random name. Okay. And click search. You're going to receive this error message. The user has not been registered, which means that we don't have that user in our table. So they need to go back to the register page and register. So this concludes our live demo for our Java project. Thank you.